Welcome to The Deep Dive, the show where we sift through the noise, stack up our sources, and pull out those essential nuggets of knowledge just for you. Today, we're stepping through a familiar doorway into a world of snow, talking animals, and an iconic wardrobe. Now, a quick question for you. Do you remember a film that arrived with so much promise, delivered so much magic, but then seemed to quietly, almost mysteriously fade from our collective memory? I'm talking, of course, about the Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe from back in 2005. And for anyone who remembers Liam Neeson's commanding voices as Aslan, wow, that was quite a turn for an actor we mostly knew from serious stuff like Schindler's List, wasn't it? Our mission today is to unpack the entire journey of this movie, from its truly triumphant debut to its surprising fade into the background, and crucially, why it absolutely deserves a fresh look. Okay, let's unpack this.
It's truly fascinating, isn't it? How a film that started with such an impressive launch, it had all the ingredients for a sprawling, successful franchise. How could it largely disappear from public discourse, becoming more of a hidden gem for, dedicated fantasy fans? When you look at its foundation, it was rock solid. Based on C.S. Lewis's beloved best-selling book series, a world meticulously crafted on the page, and a pretty substantial budget to bring that vision to life. And let's not forget the box office. It didn't just perform well, it garnered a whopping $745 million worldwide.
Wow, yeah.
By most measures, that's a massive success. Yet its broader cultural legacy is, like you said, surprisingly complicated.
That initial success is fascinating, but to truly understand it, we kind of need to set the scene, right? What was the fantasy film landscape like back in the early 2000s? And what kind of benchmarks had other films set that might have shaped expectations for Narnia? Because it feels like Narnia arrived on the scene at a very specific, very exciting time for fantasy fans.
You're absolutely right to frame it that way. Narnia didn't emerge in a vacuum, not at all. It landed squarely on the heels of a true fantasy film renaissance. We'd seen the groundbreaking success of The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, and Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Both captivated audiences in 2001. These weren't just hits, they were absolute juggernauts. Harry Potter sailed past $1 billion.
$1 billion.
And Lord of the Rings pulled in over $800 million. Their epic financial and critical triumphs really injected a huge dose of confidence into filmmakers and studios. It made them eager, to adapt other complex, beloved fantasy series. So when Disney and Walden Media poured an impressive $180 million into Narnia, it felt like a calculated, almost destined move.
Right, makes sense.
They assembled a stellar ensemble, too. Tilda Swinton was just mesmerizing as the White Witch.
Oh, yeah, chillin'.
We had James McAvoy, Roy Winstone, Jim Broadbent, and of course the four Pevensey children, Peter, Susan, Edmund, and Lucy, really anchoring the heart of this story. It had all the makings of a surefire winner.
And initially, it absolutely was. I distinctly remember the buzz around it. What was the initial critical and audience reception like? And what do you think really clicked with people right from the start?
Yeah, the 2005 film indeed received largely favorable reviews from critics and audiences alike. And I think its initial appeal lay in a few key areas. Firstly, its accessibility. Unlike the, let's say, more dense mythology of The Lord of the Rings or even the darker, more mature themes that Harry Potter would explore later, Narnia was based directly on children's literature.
Right, that's a key difference.
It meant it retained this deeply family-friendly atmosphere. It provided a beautiful form of escapism, a very palatable, clear-cut tale about good versus evil that resonated with adults and children alike. And visually, it was stunning. We're talking astounding battle sequences, intriguing visual effects that felt, well, groundbreaking at the time, and emotional moments that were genuinely impactful. It truly was a beautiful film that did justice to C.S. Lewis's original book, capturing that essential sense of wonder and epic adventure. It felt both grand and intimate, which is actually a rare balance to strike in a fantasy epic.
So the first film was a definite hit. The natural progression would be a robust, long-lasting franchise, right? Seems obvious. But something clearly shifted. What went wrong with the sequels, Prince Caspian and The Voyage of the Dawn Treader? And how did those creative decisions impact fan reception and the overall box office? Because, like you said, neither of them replicated that initial success.
You're touching on the core of why the series ultimately faltered.
Yeah.
While the first film captured magic, the sequels, Prince Caspian and The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, they struggled to maintain that momentum. Neither matched the original's box office success. They definitely underperformed, even if they weren't outright flops.
Okay.
The diminished appeal largely stemmed from some creative decisions that, well, alienated segments of the audience. For example, Prince Caspian adopted a noticeably darker, more gritty tone.
Yeah, I remember that.
Audiences, perhaps expecting a continuation of the first film's sort of whimsical wonder, found themselves unprepared for this shift, and many felt it lost some of the original's essential magic. Then, with the voyage of the Dawn Treader, the criticism often centered on Disney's attempt to steer it more towards a straightforward action-adventure film,
Oh.
rather than embracing the more contemplative, fantastical journey of the book. It felt like a genre shift that didn't quite fit, you know. And this isn't just an abstract analysis. We heard direct feedback from our listener community on this. Mark, for instance, called Prince Caspian decidedly underrated and actually liked the Susan Caspian dynamic.
Oh, interesting. So some liked it.
But then Hall had a really strong reaction, saying they hated them turning that into a love story, specifically pointing out age discrepancies, noting Susan was just a few years old when she first entered Narnia, while Caspian was cast as 17, played by a 27-year-old actor, when the character should have been around 12, 14.
Yeah, book purists notice those things.
Right. And Hall felt Dawn Treader was absolutely ruined. These comments really highlight how deeply fans connect to the source material's integrity.
That's a classic adaptation challenge, isn't it? Trying to evolve a story without losing its essence. And ultimately, these creative shifts in fan reactions had serious consequences, it sounds like. So, what was the final nail in the coffin for the Disney Narnia series?
Precisely. It really speaks to the broader challenge of adapting beloved books, particularly children's classics. There's this delicate balance between pleasing existing fans and trying to capture a new, wider audience. In Narnia's case, these internal struggles and audience reception led to some unfortunate outcomes. Ultimately, legal disputes over the rights and creative direction between Disney and Walden Media led to plans for a fourth movie being scrapped entirely.
Legal issues. That'll do it.
Yeah. This meant the film series ended abruptly and prematurely in 2010, leaving several books in the series unadapted and a franchise just cut short.
It's such a paradox, though. A massive box office hit that, despite its initial fanfare and clear commercial success, really seemed to fade from public consciousness. So what do you think is the biggest reason the Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, seemed to lose its footing in public memory over the years? Especially compared to its fantasy peers like Harry Potter and The Lord of the Rings. I mean, those franchises feel like they've never really left us, you know?
It's a compelling question, and our sources point to a few key factors. The primary reasons are undoubtedly the premature ending of the series and the mixed legacy of the final films, which definitely tarnished the overall brand for some.
Right, that makes sense.
But there's another fascinating hypothesis. The series is widely considered a children's series, and perhaps something viewers associate primarily with their childhood. While it certainly stirs nostalgia, it might not feel wholly relevant for continued adult investment in the same way its contemporaries do.
The childhood factor.
This is a crucial distinction. Unlike Harry Potter, which kind of aged with its audience, or Lord of the Rings, which always possessed this gravitas that transcended age, Narnia's themes, while profound, remain tied to a more overtly allegorical, younger reader's perspective. This made it harder for adult fans to publicly champion without feeling like they were revisiting a childhood artifact rather than a timeless epic. Just look at the fan communities you mentioned earlier. Harry Potter and The Lord of the Rings boast Reddit communities with over 1 million members each,
Huge numbers.
while The Chronicles of Narnia has just 18,000.
Wow, only 18K. That's a stark difference.
It really shows the difference in sustained adult engagement. It's also important to correct a common misconception. In many online discussions, these films are sometimes mischaracterized as failures. But as we've established, the first film was a decisive critical and commercial success. It raises an important question, doesn't it, about the longevity of film franchises that are perceived as, quote, just for kids. And this layered nostalgia isn't just about the 2005 film, but previous adaptations too. Sean Mack, for instance, in our source comments, believes the 2005 film still doesn't beat the BBC miniseries from the 80s.
Oh yeah, the BBC one, I remember that.
Right, so it shows that fans hold different versions of Narnia close to their hearts.
That connection to childhood memories is definitely strong. But what about its current relevance? Is there still a compelling reason for adults to revisit Narnia today, maybe beyond pure nostalgia? Because despite the franchise's uneven trajectory, I truly believe that original 2005 film is still a powerful cinematic experience. And in many ways, it's an enduring fantasy gem. What do you think are the specific elements that, when we revisit it today, still make it shine so brightly?
It's true that the franchise faltered, but yeah, the original 2005 film absolutely retains its magic. Beyond just providing an escape, the film's production design created this tactile, believable Narnia that felt lived in and fantastical simultaneously. Think of the intricate details in the Beaver's Dam, the subtle way the White Witch's reign is depicted through the perpetual winter,
The endless snow.
or the awe-inspiring scale of Cair Paravel. These weren't just special effects, they were world-building elements that deeply immersed the viewer. And the casting, as you mentioned, was also a masterstroke. Tilda Swinton's White Witch is chillingly brilliant. Her portrayal of passion and iciness evokes genuine terror, truly embodying evil with this captivating elegance. And Liam Neeson's voice as Aslan. It's simply perfect, rich, warm, conveying immense power and wisdom. He truly embodies the majestic, almost mythic hero.
Absolutely.
It's worth noting, as the source points out, that C.S. Lewis intended Aslan to represent Jesus,
Right.
making it a larger-than-life, almost allegorical role that Neeson delivers with profound gravitas. And just to be clear, we're reporting Lewis's known intent as presented in the source, not endorsing any particular viewpoint. Especially since, as you know, one commenter, Mark, was glad the films avoided what he called Lewis's Christian preaching.
Right. Important context. I couldn't agree more about the casting and the world building, though. I mean, who didn't try to look for a magical realm in the back of a closet after that movie? For me, that's where the true magic lies. It wasn't just a good fantasy movie. It genuinely tapped into something deeper.
Exactly. And that's precisely why I'd argue its most considerable merit, beyond the visuals, performances, or symbolism, is its unparalleled escapism. The entire premise, 4 children from wartime England stumbling through a wardrobe into a magical realm, is perhaps no better illustration of the transformative power of escapism and the ability of fantastical worlds to convey wonder even in the darkest of times. It's a journey that resonates deeply with anyone who's ever wished for a secret door to adventure.
Definitely.
Many adults, I'm sure, can still recall the sheer delight of watching the movies as children, collecting all those Chronicles of Narnia toys that came in McDonald's Happy Meal,
Oh, yeah, the Happy Meal toys.
and forever associating wardrobes with magic and enchantment. The film doesn't just entertain, it rekindles that essential childhood sense of possibility and imagination. It truly deserves to be recognized as more than just a fond childhood memory. It's a film that masterfully captured the timeless legacy of Lewis's work, a narrative that continues to resonate, making it a genuine fantasy triumph that holds up remarkably well.
Well, the story of Narnia on screen isn't quite over yet. There's actually new hope for a resurgence. Back in 2018, Netflix secured the rights to the Chronicles of Narnia, which was pretty big news for fans at the time. And just last year, in 2023, following the smash hit success of Barbie,
Huge movie.
Netflix made an even bigger announcement. Greta Gerwig is set to direct 2 new Narnia films.
Wow, Greta Gerwig, okay.
Yeah, the first one on the slate is apparently Narnia, the magician's nephew, and it's slated for a 2026 release. That's actually closer than many fans might realize.
It's definitely a prospect that generates a lot of discussion. But the fan reaction to Gerwig's upcoming adaptation, it's been notably cautious. There's hope, certainly, but it's often a kind of subdued response compared to the roaring hype around something like The Hunger Games, Sunrise on the Reaping,
Right, the prequel.
which premieres just days before, or even the highly controversial Harry Potter revival. This really highlights the immense challenge of reviving a beloved yet somewhat forgotten franchise, especially one where the original didn't necessarily deserve to be forgotten in the first place.
Yeah, the pressure is high.
The protectiveness fans feel for the source material is incredibly high, which we saw with Hall's comment, remember, who expressed having zero faith in any new movie being good and feared they have to inject nonsense into perfect stories. C.S. Lewis would not be happy.
Yeah, that captures the fan anxiety perfectly.
It really underscores just how delicate a balancing act it is to bring these cherished worlds back to the screen.
So there you have it. The Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe from 2005 remains a truly powerful cinematic experience, particularly for its pure escapism and the way it crafts a timeless story of good versus evil. If it's been a while since you last stepped through that wardrobe, I really encourage you to revisit it. So what does this all mean for you, the listener?
Well, perhaps the true magic of Narnia isn't just in the wardrobe itself, but in the enduring power of these kinds of stories. Their ability to offer us a refuge, to ignite our imagination, even when they're momentarily overlooked. It prompts us to consider, what other forgotten gems from our past deserve a fresh look, a rediscovery of their magic? And what new insights, what new wonder might we find waiting for us within those familiar yet often overlooked narratives?